What do humans taste like? Alien girl asked innocently. He nearly choked. Kalen Vance hit the ground hard, the emergency chute deploying a second before his wrecked scout skipped across the cinder waste like a damn rock. Dust billowed, tasting like copper and regret. His ribs screamed, his head rang like a church bell in a hailstorm. He coughed, spitting grit, and managed to untangle himself from the chute harness. The scout was a crumpled mess of twisted metal and sparking wires about 50 meters away. Useless. Just like his whole damn life plan had turned out. He was stranded on some backwater rock he'd only planned to refuel on before making for the outer rim. The kind of place where the local fauna probably considered him a crunchy snack. He scrambled to his feet, clutching his side, eyes scanning the desolate landscape. It wasn't exactly desolate, though. The ground wasn't just sand. It was made of glowing, crystalline structures that pulsed with a dim internal light, like buried veins. The air hummed with a low frequency that vibrated in his bones. And standing maybe 20 feet away, watching him with eyes that reflected the strange ground glow, was the alien girl. She wasn't a girl, not in the human sense. She was tall, maybe 6.5 feet, with long limbs that moved with predatory grace. Her skin was a deep, rich obsidian, but beneath it, faint lines of soft, pulsing turquoise light traced intricate patterns, like a living circuit board just beneath the surface. Her eyes were large, luminous orbs of pure, deep blue with no discernible pupil fixated on him. She wore minimal clothing, just straps of something dark and flexible that crisscrossed her torso and legs, leaving most of her glowing skin exposed. A simple, heavy knife was strapped to her thigh. Her hair, if it was hair, was a mass of crystalline filaments that shimmered and shifted color slightly as the ground pulsed. She hadn't moved since he'd seen her, just watched. He kept his hands visible, away from the battered blaster still in his belt holster. "All right, hey," he managed, his voice rough. "Didn't mean to drop in unannounced. Ship went foobar. I'm just passing through. Need a ride? Parts?" The alien girl didn't reply immediately. She tilted her head slightly, the filaments shifting. A low hum started, emanating from somewhere in her chest, vibrating in the strange resonant air. It wasn't hostile, not exactly, but it wasn't welcoming either. It felt, assessing, like a predator figuring out if he was prey or not worth the energy. The blue light in her eyes intensified. Then, in perfect albeit slightly stilted, standard galactic, she spoke. Her voice was low, resonant, carrying the same strange hum he felt in the air. "You fall from sky. Break ground." Her gaze flicked to the scout wreck, then back to him. "You are. Messy." Kalen winced. "Yeah, tell me about it." "Look, name's Kalen Vance. I'm a human, peaceful. Mostly." He gestured weakly. "Like I said, just passing through. Got any kind of comms relay around here? Or maybe just a town? A trading post? Anything that isn't Tajud?" "This?" He swept a hand across the glowing waste. The hum from her chest deepened. She took a slow step towards him. "Another." She moved with such unnerving silence. He resisted the urge to back away, to draw his weapon. His gut screamed danger, but his brain, the part not currently concussed, knew drawing on something that moved like that was a good way to die faster. She stopped a few feet away. He could see the pulsing light under her skin more clearly now, the intricate patterns shifting and flowing like liquid energy. It was beautiful and terrifying. Her eyes, those vast blue pools, seemed to look right through him. And then she asked, her voice still low, resonant, the hum present. "What do humans taste like?" Kalen nearly choked on the dust in his throat. "What?"
What the fuck?
He stared at her, bewildered. Was this some kind of bizarre greeting? A threat? "They taste like awful, like burnt space rations and poor life choices, probably. Definitely not good eating." He tried a shaky grin. "Also, we're tough. Stringy. High in cholesterol. Bad for the arteries." He was babbling, he knew it, but the question had thrown him completely off balance. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. This wasn't even how getting captured was supposed to go. She wasn't snarling or pointing a weapon. She was just curious, but the way she looked at him, the slow, deliberate movement, the hum, it didn't feel like idle curiosity. It felt like the question a predator asks before the pounce. Her head tilted again. "Curious. Your scent, Condit Vroth Aerocrate, is different. Not of this rock. Not of the veil. What are you? She wasn't asking what species he was. She was asking something deeper, something about his purpose, his essence. And he didn't have a good answer for that. Not one that wouldn't get him killed or worse. I'm a survivor, he said, the sarcasm a thin shield over genuine fear. Right now, I'm just a survivor looking for a way off this glowing rock. She reached out a hand, long fingers tipped with slightly darker, sharper nails, and touched his arm just below the shoulder. It wasn't a hard grip, but her touch was surprisingly warm, and the faint turquoise light on her skin seemed to pulse brighter where she made contact. A jolt went through him, not just physical but something else, something that resonated with the hum in the air and the pulsing ground. It felt like a strange, deep vibration inside his own body. His breath hitched. Her blue eyes narrowed slightly, as if examining something invisible. A survivor, she repeated, the hum in her chest vibrating against his arm. Your internal structures are chaotic, unaligned, yet medium right, unaligned, strong. Her gaze dropped to his chest, lingering there for a long moment before returning to his eyes. My designation is Rith, she stated, pulling her hand back, the connection broken but the strange internal vibration lingering. You are Kaelin Vance. You have entered my claim. You are now mine. The simple declaration hung in the air, heavy and absolute. Mine? He was not someone's mine. He was Kaelin Vance, rogue, smuggler, currently unemployed bounty hunter, free agent extraordinaire, or at least he had been, until his ship decided to impersonate a meteor. Whoa, hold on a second there, Rith. Yours? I appreciate the hospitality, but I'm not really looking for a permanent gig right now. Just need to fix my ship and bounce. Rith's head tilted again, her gaze unwavering. Not hospitality, claiming, you are now my property, my resource. The hum from her chest deepened, lower, more powerful. He felt it resonate inside him again like a tuning fork had struck bone. Property? Resource? His sarcastic facade was starting to crack. This was way beyond getting shaken down by local law or robbed by scavengers. This was entry's primal. And the look in her luminous blue eyes was anything but innocent now. It was possessive, dominant. He took a cautious step back. Look, Rith, I don't know what claiming means here, but where I come from, people don't just claim other people. We have rights, property laws, non-slavery statutes, all that good stuff. He gestured with his hands again, trying to project calm reasonableness. It wasn't working. I'm not a resource. I'm a person with plans, and they don't involve being owned by you. By you, no offense. Her response was swift and utterly nonverbal. She moved, a blur of obsidian skin and pulsing light, closing the distance he'd just put between them in a single fluid movement. Her hand didn't just touch him this time. Her long fingers wrapped around his neck, not squeezing but holding him firmly, her thumb pressing gently against his windpipe. He froze, muscles tensing. Those blue eyes were inches from his, the light within them flaring. He could feel the vibration of her internal hum through her grip on his neck, resonating somewhere deep inside his skull. It was disorienting, almost intoxicating, a strange mix of fear and a bizarre primitive attraction he immediately hated himself for feeling. This close, he could see the incredible detail of the light patterns under her skin, like constellations etched onto her body. He could smell a faint, clean scent from her, like ozone and mineral dust. And then, her voice, a low rumble in his ear that vibrated down his spine, carrying the full weight of her alien dominance. You misunderstand, Rith stated, her grip steady on his throat. The veil claims, we who carry the veins claim, it is survival. It is law. Her eyes locked with his, pulling him into their luminous depth. The vibration intensified, spreading through his body. He felt a strange pressure behind his eyes. This wasn't just talk. This felt like a physical assertion of will, of ownership, powered by whatever inherent energy pulsed beneath her skin and in the ground. You fell into my claim space, she continued, her voice dropping to a near whisper, the hum almost overpowering now. You are mine by right of Veilfall, except, or you are threat. Threats are removed. The implication was clear. Except being her property, or she would remove him, permanently. This was not the kind of negotiation he was used to. No credits exchanged hands, no threats of calling the guard. Just this quiet, absolute assertion of power, backed by those unsettlingly beautiful eyes and the strange, vibrating energy radiating from her. He swallowed hard, his throat bobbing against her thumb. All right, he rasped, his sarcasm failing him completely in the face of this unnerving certainty. Let's define property here, Rith. What exactly does being yours entail? Because where I come from, that word has some heavy baggage, like chained to an asteroid and mined for organs kind of baggage. He was trying to buy time to understand. Was this some kind of ritual? Was she going to eat him? Use him for some alien experiment? The possibilities were not comforting. Rith didn't loosen her grip, but her gaze seemed to soften fractionally, or perhaps it was just the light shifting. The hum lowered slightly. It entails alignment, resonance, sharing of structures. She paused, those luminous eyes seeming to trace the patterns she couldn't see under his human skin. You disrupt the frequency of my claim. You are a rogue signal. You must be integrated. To survive the veil, there must be alignment. Claiming is alignment. She finally released his throat, but the connection, the resonance, felt stronger now. Like she'd somehow synced a part of him to her own internal frequency. He rubbed his neck, still feeling the phantom pressure. Okay, alignment. Resonance. Integration. He shook his head. This is way above my pay grade. I'm a guy who flies things and occasionally shoots things, not integrating signals. Look, how about this? You help me fix my ship. I give you all the salvageable tech, credits, whatever you want that isn't Jade is new Altore. Whatever you want that isn't me being your property. Rith watched him, her expression unreadable. The faint glow under her skin pulsed steadily now, a calm rhythm. Your ship, she stated, her voice flat. It is broken. Beyond repair by you. The veil consumed its energy signature on impact. It is. Quiet. She was right. He knew it. He'd seen the wreck. There was no fixing that without a miracle or a fully equipped yard. He was stuck, and apparently he was claimed. Okay, fine, he sighed, running a hand over his face. So I'm stuck, and I'm yours. Great, just fantastic. Does being yours mean you're not going to eat me? Rith considered this, her head tilted again. The hum started up, a thoughtful sound. Eating is nourishment. You are not nourishment for the veins. You are. When will nourishment for the veins. You are. Connection. Frequency. She took a step away, turning to look out across the glowing, undulating landscape. The ash stalkers hunt rogue frequencies. They will feel your disruption. You must align with my claim, with me. Ash stalkers? Rogue frequencies? This was getting worse. He needed information, fast. Who are the ash stalkers, and why are they hunting? Out rogue frequencies. He gestured between himself and her. Is that us now? A pair of rogue frequencies? Rith turned back, her movements sharp, decisive. The calm rhythm of her internal light shifted, the pulses becoming faster, sharper. The ash stalkers are, Jalse, the enforcers. They excise disruption. The veil requires harmony. Your energy disrupts the veil's song. My exile makes me. Tall me. Irregular. You make me loud. She looked at him, her blue eyes intense. Claiming brings resonance. It hides the disruption. It makes two frequencies into one stronger signal, aligned with the veil's rhythm. It is the law. And now my survival. She walked towards him again, not with the predatory stalking movement from before, but with a purposeful stride. Come. The surface is exposed. We must descend. We must align. She didn't offer a hand, didn't wait for his agreement. She simply turned and started walking towards a shimmering distortion in the air near a cluster of taller glowing crystal formations. It looked like a heat haze, but there was a solidness to it, like a shimmering curtain. He hesitated for a moment, his mind racing. Ash stalkers, exiled enforcer. The song, claiming for survival. It sounded like pure insanity, but the absolute conviction in her voice, the strange energy that still resonated inside him from her touch, and the simple fact that he was stuck with a broken ship on an alien world, had him moving. This alien woman, Rith, was dangerous, confusing, and potentially the only thing standing between him and whatever ash stalkers did to rogue frequencies. All right, Rith, he muttered, grabbing his blaster holster just in case, and hurried to catch up. Lead the way. Just try not to align me with anything that involves sharp objects or becoming part of the local flora. They reached the shimmering curtain. It felt cool, not hot, and tasted faintly of the same mineral dust as the air. Rith stepped through without hesitation. Kaelin took a deep breath and followed her into the distortion. It wasn't a curtain, it was a camouflaged entrance into the ground. They descended into a network of naturally occurring caverns, the walls and ceiling glowing with the same pulsing light as the surface ground, only here it was more intense, more varied in color. Hues of turquoise, sapphire, emerald, and even hints of violet pulsed and flowed around them, illuminating intricate crystalline structures that grew from the rock like massive otherworldly flora. The hum was louder here, more complex, a symphony of resonant frequencies that vibrated in Kaelin's chest and skull, making him feel both strangely energized and disoriented. Rith moved through the glowing tunnels with confidence, her own internal light sinking slightly with the ambient glow, making her appear to fade and sharpen as she moved. "This is the Veil's embrace," she stated, her voice echoing slightly in the cavern. "The surface is merely skin. The true world is below." She stopped in a wider cavern where the light was particularly vibrant, shifting rapidly between blue and green. A shallow pool of liquid glowed in the center, reflecting the pulsing colors. She turned to face him, her luminous blue eyes seeming to absorb the light around them. "Your frequency is loud here," she stated, the hum in her chest intensifying. "It disrupts the harmony. We must begin the alignment." Kaelin felt the pressure behind his eyes return, stronger now, accompanied by a warmth that spread through his limbs. "Begin alignment? What does that entail?" He was wary. Very, very wary. This whole place felt like some kind of giant living organism, and he felt like a parasite trying to burrow inside it. Rith reached out a hand, her fingers extended. The light beneath her skin flared, brighter than he'd seen it before. "Touch," she commanded simply. "Combine our frequencies. The Veil will witness." Touch? Combine frequencies? This was the claiming ritual? It sounded suspiciously like something intimate, or at least something biologically significant. He hesitated. "Rith, are you sure about this? I'm not exactly the Veil-approved material. I might short-circuit something." She didn't retract her hand. Her expression was one of absolute certainty, mixed with something that looked like impatience. Hesitation invites discord. Discord attracts the stalkers. "Touch." Kaelin Vance, align. Her voice was firm, a command that brooked no argument. He looked at her hand, glowing softly in the pulsing light of the cavern. He looked into her eyes, pools of intense blue that seemed to promise something? Survival? A bizarre connection? Death by exotic ritual? His options felt limited. Stay here and wait for these ash stalkers who hunted rogue frequencies like his, or trust the alien woman who had claimed him as property and was now demanding he touch her to align with the glowing rock she called the Veil. He swore internally. All right, he grumbled, reaching out his own hand, palm up, his fingers trembling slightly. "Against my better judgment, don't say I didn't warn you if this whole cave system goes critical." His fingers brushed hers. Her skin felt smooth, warm, and vibrated with a subtle energy. The moment their hands connected, the pulsing light in the cavern intensified dramatically, washing over them in waves of brilliant color. The hum in the air swelled into a powerful, resonant chord that vibrated through his entire body, rattling his teeth. He felt a strange pressure behind his eyes bloom into a dazzling light that seemed to fill his vision, even through his closed eyelids. Rith's grip on his hand tightened, pulling him closer. Her other hand came up, her fingers tracing the outline of his jaw. The light under her skin flared intensely now, mirroring the light around them, flowing rapidly in complex patterns. He could feel her internal hum synchronizing with his own rapid heartbeat, creating a strange, unified rhythm that seemed to resonate with the very rock around them. It was overwhelming, a sensory overload of light, sound, vibration, and the physical presence of the alien woman holding him. He felt like he was being scanned, probed, analyzed at a fundamental level. His thoughts scattered, replaced by a chaotic mix of primal fear and an unexpected surge of physical heat that had nothing to do with the cave temperature. Rith pressed closer, her forehead touching his. He felt the crystalline filaments of her hair brush against his cheek. "Align," she murmured, the word vibrating directly into his skull. "Let the frequencies merge. Become one with the Veil's song." Her luminous eyes, open and inches from his, seemed to draw him in, her intense blue gaze locking onto his. He felt a strange sensation, like his consciousness was expanding, merging with hers, if only for a fleeting second. He saw flashes of images that weren't his, vast glowing caverns stretching into infinity, intricate patterns of light flowing like rivers, the deep resonant hum of the veil, and a fierce possessive certainty that radiated from her. Then the connection snapped back, the intense light and hum receding slightly, leaving him dizzy and breathless. Reith pulled back, releasing his hand but keeping her eyes locked on his. The light under her skin was still active, but its patterns were calmer now, flowing in a steady rhythmic dance. He felt different. The disruptive rogue frequency feeling was lessened, replaced by a faint, underlying resonance that felt subtly linked to her. In the heat, the strange, undeniable physical heat was still there, thrumming just beneath his skin. Rith studied him, her gaze lingering on his face, then dropping to his chest again. "The alignment begins," she stated, her voice lower now, less commanding, more assessing. "Your structures are shucks. Shalifor. Structures are receptive, but chaotic. The joining must be complete." She stepped back fully, looking at him from head to toe. He shifted uncomfortably. "Complete? What does complete mean? Was the hand-holding ritual just step one?" He was trying to inject some humor, but his voice was shaky. His heart was still pounding, not just from fear, but from that weird surge of heat and the lingering resonance of the veil and her touch. Rith didn't smile. He wasn't sure if her species could smile in a human way. Instead, she reached out again, this time not to his hand, but towards his belt. His hand shot down instinctively. "Whoa, hey, easy there. What are you doing?" She ignored his protest, her long fingers moving past his blaster holster to his belt buckle. "Your containment structures," she stated, her voice flat. "They inhibit resonance. Alignment requires airy line. Openness? No barriers." Before he could react, she deftly unbuckled his belt. It clattered to the glowing rock floor. He stared at her, then down at his now beltless pants. "My fur, widow. Containment structures? You mean my pants? Rith, what the hell? That's not part of the ritual, is it?" His voice was rising in pitch. This was escalating in a direction he was definitely not prepared for, not after nearly dying in a crash and being claimed as alien property. Rith didn't answer verbally. Her eyes dropped, scanning him slowly from the waist down. The faint glow beneath her skin pulsed faster. Her hum started again, but this time it was a low, continuous tone, different from the resonant hum of the veil. It felt personal, possessive, and undeniably sexual. His own body reacted, a sudden, unwelcome hardening beneath his tattered trousers. God damn it! Of all the times for his biology to betray him, Rith's gaze returned to his face. Her blue eyes seemed to bore into him, reading his reaction. A strange expression flickered across her face, something he couldn't quite decipher. Curiosity? Recognition? Triumph? "Yes," she stated, her voice a low growl that vibrated through the humming air. "Alignment requires mating." His jaw dropped. "Mating? No, no, no. Rith, that's not. We just met. I crashed here like an hour ago. You claimed me as property, not as a mate." This was beyond awkward sexual misunderstanding. This was a full-blown crisis. She was looking at him like dinner, but not the eating kind, the fusing kind. His mind flashed back to her question. What do humans taste like? Was this part of it? Some weird alien mating ritual that involved becoming one. His stomach twisted. "Mating is alignment," Rith insisted, taking a step closer, her hand reaching out again, not for his belt this time, but higher, her fingers tracing the line of buttons on his shirt. "The Veil's law, claiming, aligning, mating, it is one path for survival." Her voice was softer now, losing some of its commanding edge, replaced by something else. "Need? A different kind of dominance?" The heat in his body flared, fueled by a mixture of panic and a treacherous, undeniable attraction to her sheer alien intensity and the strange, pulsing light of her body. Her touch on his shirt was light, but it sent shivers down his spine. "No, Rith. Really. Humans don't. We don't mate like that. It's a whole thing. Feelings, courtship, dating apps, awkward family dinners. It's complicated." He was rambling again, desperate to inject some human reality into this surreal alien nightmare. She just watched him, her eyes wide and luminous, uncomprehending. The hum from her chest was louder now, a continuous low thrumming that seemed to resonate with the pulsing light around them and the growing heat in his own body. Feelings, she repeated, the words strange on her tongue. Awkward family dinners? These are barriers. Discord. She shook her head slightly. Mating is resonance, merging of frequencies. It makes the claim absolute. It aligns us with the Veil's song. It makes us undetectable to the stalkers. It is survival. Her fingers, long and dark against the worn fabric of his shirt, began to unbutton it, one by one. He stood frozen, half in shock, half paralyzed by the sheer alienness of the situation and the conflicting signals his body was sending him. His brain screamed danger, but that strange primal heat was roaring now, clouding his judgment. The light under her skin pulsed with an intoxicating rhythm, and the low hum emanating from her seemed to vibrate directly into his core. "Rith, stop," he managed, his voice barely a whisper. "This is too fast. Too stealth, alien." She didn't stop. She simply reached his last button and parted his shirt, revealing the plain gray undershirt beneath. Her luminous blue eyes scanned his chest, lingering on his racing heart visible beneath the thin fabric. "Fast is survival," she stated, her hand lifting to cup his cheek, her skin warm and smooth against his rough stubble. The hum from her chest intensified, vibrating against his skin. He felt a pressure in his chest, like something was expanding. "The Veil's song requires harmony. Your disruption is loud. We must harmonize." Now. He felt trapped, cornered, not just by the physical reality of being deep underground with a dominant alien woman who had decided claiming meant mating, but by his own body's traitorous response. The heat was building, fueled by the strange resonance in the air and the proximity of her glowing, humming form. It was a dangerous, exhilarating mix of fear and desire. Rith's hand slid down from his cheek, her fingers tracing the line of his collarbone, then the edge of his undershirt. "Remove the remaining barriers," she commanded, her voice soft but absolute. "Let our frequencies touch, merge, become, align." She wasn't asking, she was instructing. And as she stood there, bathed in the pulsing alien light of the cavern, her eyes luminous pools, her body humming with resonant energy, he found himself unable to refuse. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for the hem of his undershirt. This was insane. Absolutely, positively insane. But survival? Alignment? Mating? The words tangled in his mind, blurring with the physical sensations overwhelming him. He pulled the undershirt over his head, dropping it to the ground next to his belt. Now he stood before her, bare-chested, vulnerable, the strange heat radiating from his skin. Rith's eyes scanned his torso again, the pulsing light beneath her skin flickering rapidly. The hum from her chest shifted, becoming a deep, melodic thrum that resonated through the cavern and directly into his own body. It felt like a physical connection, a pull that drew him towards her. "Bare skin," she stated, stepping closer until their bodies were almost touching. He could feel the warmth radiating from her, the subtle vibration of her internal hum. Her hand reached out, her long fingers touching his bare chest, right over his heart. The moment her skin met his, a jolt of pure energy shot through him. The light under her skin pulsed intensely at the point of contact, mirroring a strange, localized flare he felt deep inside his own chest. It didn't hurt, but it was overwhelming, like plugging himself directly into the cave's power source. "Your core resonates," she murmured. Her eyes locked on his, their blue depths swirling with light. "The song deepens." Her touch was firm, possessive, tracing the contours of his muscles. He could feel the subtle vibration of her humming throat nodes against his chest where she touched him. His breath hitched. This was happening. This absolutely insane alien mating ritual was happening, and his traitorous body was responding with a heat and intensity that both terrified and thrilled him. He could feel the faint scent of ozone and mineral dust from her skin, mixed with something else, something subtly sweet and intoxicating that seemed to heighten the strange energy flowing between them. Her other hand came up, her fingers wrapping around his neck, just like before. But this time the grip wasn't a threat. It was a connection. The hum from her chest increased, filling his ears, vibrating through his bones. He felt a pressure building behind his eyes again, but this time it wasn't just light, it was a sense of merging, of boundaries dissolving. Rith leaned closer, her foreheads touching again, her crystalline hair filaments brushing against his skin. "Yield to the song," she whispered, the words vibrating through their joined foreheads. "Let the frequencies intertwine. Let us become harmony." He closed his eyes, overwhelmed, and leaned into her touch, into the strange, pulsating energy. He wasn't making a conscious decision to consent. He was reacting to the danger, to the heat, to the bizarre, compelling power of her presence and the veil's song. Her hands moved, exploring his body with a confident, almost clinical curiosity that was intensely erotic. She seemed fascinated by the differences in his anatomy, the way his skin felt, the warmth of him. She peeled off his pants with swift, efficient movements, leaving him fully exposed. The air in the cavern seemed to crackle with energy now. The light pulsed faster. The hum grew deeper, a resonant vibration that seemed to vibrate not just around them but within them. Reith's luminous eyes, open and staring into his soul, saw things he couldn't. His own internal chaos, his fear, his desire, all laid bare under the piercing gaze of an alien who saw him not as a person, but as a frequency to be aligned. She pressed her body against his, molding herself to him. Her skin was cool and smooth against his heated flesh, a stark contrast that heightened the sensation. He could feel the subtle ridges of her glowing internal structures through her skin where she pressed against him. The hum from her chest vibrated directly against his own, a deep resonant thrum that seemed to sink into his bones, aligning something fundamental within him to her. Her hands guided him, her movements deliberate and certain. She wasn't hesitant or unsure. She was a force of nature driven by the needs of her species, her culture, her survival. The ritual was unfolding, and he was a participant, willing or not, swept along by the tide of alien biology and cosmic energy. Her touch was firm, her grip possessive. He was claimed, and this was the physical manifestation of that claim. As their bodies joined, the light in the cavern flared, blindingly bright, and the hum reached a crescendo, a vibrating chord that seemed to shake the very foundations of the cave. He cried out, a raw, guttural sound swallowed by the roar of the veil's song. He felt a sensation unlike anything he had ever experienced, not just physical pleasure, intense as it was, but a profound, almost painful merging of energy, a dissolving of his own individual frequency into hers. The light beneath Rith's skin pulsed wildly now, mirroring the rapid beat of his heart. He could feel her internal structures vibrating against him, humming with the same intensity. Her eyes, wide and luminous, stared into his, and he saw in them a reflection of his own raw vulnerability mixed with her fierce, possessive certainty. She moved with an ancient rhythm, guided by instinct, by the needs of the ritual, by the song of the veil. He was no longer Kalen Vance, jaded bounty hunter. He was a vessel for alignment, a frequency being merged, claimed utterly by the glowing alien woman moving with him in the heart of the pulsing cavern. The climax was not just physical, it was an explosion of light, energy, and sound. The cave pulsed violently around them, the hum reaching an unbearable intensity, and he felt a sensation like a million tiny threads of light weaving through his body, connecting him irrevocably to Rith and to the living rock of the veil. Rith cried out too, a sharp, resonant sound that vibrated through him. Her body tensed, her internal light flaring brighter than ever before, and he felt a sudden intense heat bloom on his chest, right over his heart. It felt like a brand. When the light and the hum finally subsided, leaving them both trembling and breathless, he looked down, where her hand had rested over his heart. A faint, intricate pattern of turquoise light was now visible beneath his own skin, pulsing faintly in rhythm with her own internal glow. A mark. She had marked him. He pushed himself away from her, gasping, eyes wide, staring at the glowing mark on his chest. It wasn't paint or a tattoo. It was under his skin, connected to his own biological processes, beating with his heart. "What? But what did you do?" he whispered, his voice hoarse. Rith leaned back, catching her breath, her luminous eyes scanning the mark on his chest with an expression that was both satisfied, something else, solemn, possessive. The merging is complete," she stated, her voice quieter now, carrying the faint echo of the powerful hum that had just subsided. "Our frequencies are aligned. The claim is sealed." She touched the mark gently with her finger. "It is the sign of claim. It binds us to the veil's song, to each other." He scrambled back, putting distance between them. "Binds us? To each other? Rith, you can't just do that." Panic was starting to set in, raw and visceral, He was marked, claimed, bound to an alien woman he'd met hours ago on a hostile rock. This wasn't just sex. This was sown. Something permanent. Something fundamentally altering. What does bound mean? Am I? Am I stuck here? With you? Forever? His mind reeled. He was a free agent, a lone wolf. The idea of being tied to anyone or anything, let alone an alien ritual on a glowing mineral world, was terrifying. Reith watched him, her head tilted slightly. The light under her skin was still pulsing, a steady rhythmic glow that seemed to mock his panic. Bound means built integrated. Harmonized, we are now one frequency. The veil recognizes us as a pair unit. Acclaimed resonance. She stood up, moving with that same fluid grace, retrieving her few pieces of clothing. She looked utterly composed while he felt like his world had just been turned inside out and permanently branded. A pair unit? He repeated weakly, still staring at the glowing mark on his chest. It felt warm, a constant reminder of what had just happened.
What about
The ash stalkers? Does this mating ritual thing? Hokido to art, mating crowd you waitigal thing, hokshun fertilishly. Protect us, Rith nodded, pulling her clothing back on. Yes, our merged frequency is harder for them to detect. It appears as a single stable signal, part of the veil's own song. Two disruptions become one harmony. She looked at him, her expression unreadable, but they will still search. My exile makes me a target. You, as my claimed, are now also a target. She walked over to him, her bare feet silent on the glowing rock. She crouched down, picking up his discarded clothes. We must move. The deep caverns. They are the safest path. As she handed him his clothes, his eyes fell on the glowing mark on his chest again. It wasn't going away. It was part of him now. He looked at Rith, at her luminous eyes, her obsidian skin, the steady pulse of light beneath it. She had used him, yes, perhaps, for survival, for her ritual, but she had also bound herself to him, made them a pair unit, given him a literal mark of ownership. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else now, a strange sense of connection, of consequence, and a grudging respect for this alien woman who had taken control of a chaotic situation and bent it to her will and her species' law. So, he said, his voice rough as he pulled on his undershirt, the glowing mark hidden but felt. We're Botkuro, harmonized, and still hunted. Great. Just another day in paradise. The sarcasm was back, albeit a bit strained. Rith didn't respond with words. She simply watched him dress, her luminous eyes following his movements, the faint possessive hum returning to her chest. It wasn't just a hum now. It felt like a claim, made audible. They moved deeper into the caverns, the glowing rock walls pressing closer around them. The hum of the veil was a constant presence, sometimes a gentle thrum, sometimes swelling into resonant chords that made Kalen's bones vibrate. Rith led the way, her movements silent and efficient, her internal light syncing perfectly with the environment. Kalen followed, the mark on his chest a burning reminder of their forced intimacy and its alien consequences. He kept his hand on his blaster holster, a useless gesture in this strange, energy-filled world, but it made him feel slightly less like a claimed animal. So, your exile, Kalen ventured after a long silence, the echo of his voice absorbed by the strange rock. Why are the ash stalkers hunting you specifically? What did you do? Rith paused, turning to face him. The light beneath her skin pulsed with a rhythm that seemed troubled. My exile was imposed by the elder resonance, she stated, her voice low. I challenged the song. Challenged the song, refused a mandated merge. She looked away, her gaze fixed on the glowing walls. My proposed claim was deemed unsuitable. They sought to reharmonize me. I fled, became a disruption. Kalen frowned. Mandated merge? So, like an arranged marriage? And you said no? That sounded surprisingly human. But the consequences seemed much more severe. They exile you, send robocops or whatever these stalkers are after you, just because you wouldn't marry the guy. Or girl. Do or girl. He jail. De crew winisit bar puri or girl to ini so, or jail, or whatever. Rith turned back to him, her luminous eyes sharp. Not marriage, merge, resonance. It is. Umwabole ploth to free. Munlatar amjuro. One hole in hall. A joining of frequencies for the strength of the claim, for the veil. She paused, and for the first time Kaelin saw a flicker of something vulnerable in her expression. The claim they mandated for me was with the resonator prime sun, a powerful frequency, but discordant with my own. She looked at the glowing mark on his chest. Your frequency is chaotic, unstable, yet it resonates, unexpectedly, powerfully. He rubbed the mark, feeling the faint warmth. Great. So I'm chaotic and unstable, but apparently compatible with an exiled alien who skipped her mandatory wedding. This is a regular fairy tale. The sarcasm was back in full force, but it couldn't entirely hide the knot of fear and confusion in his gut. And now I've got this. Zoho. This mark. Does it do anything besides glow and make me your property? Rith approached him, reaching out to touch the mark again. This time, when her fingers brushed his skin, the light under both their skins flared briefly, and he felt that strange internal resonance again, a deep vibration that felt both alien and oddly familiar. It allows shared perception, she stated, a resonance link. I can feel your presence within the veil? Your heady like Depade, with a low whisper and said, condition, your thoughts, sometimes, when the frequency is strong. His eyes widened. You can read my mind? Rith hesitated, tilting her head. Not read? Feel. Echoes. Impressions. When you are loud. Loud? He nearly shouted it. Oh, believe me, Rith, my thoughts right now are pretty damn loud. They're screaming, get me the hell off this rock before I'm adopted into an alien cult. Rith didn't recoil from his outburst. She simply watched him, her expression unreadable. Loud, she confirmed, but not chaotic now. Merged. Aligned. The sign holds the frequency. She straightened up. The stalkers will be drawn to the surface disruption. We must descend deeper. To the veil's heart. There, the song is strongest. It can mask us completely. She turned and continued moving, the pulsing light under her skin a beacon in the glowing tunnels. Kaelin hesitated for a second, the implications of a shared perception link settling in. Great. Not only was he claimed property, he was also potentially an open book to the dominant alien who owned him. He sighed and followed her into the deeper, darker tunnels where the light was less pervasive, the hum deeper, more ancient. They moved for what felt like hours, descending through a labyrinth of glowing passages. Kaelin's body ached, his ribs protesting with every step. He was hungry, thirsty, and utterly exhausted. Riln seemed tireless, moving with the same smooth, effortless grace. The only comfort was the constant low hum of the veil and the faint, steady warmth of the mark on his chest, which strangely seemed to lessen the ache in his bones. Every now and then, Rith would stop, placing a hand on the glowing wall, listening to the deep resonance of the rock. Her internal light would pulse rapidly, and she would hum a low, melodic tone that seemed to sync with the environment before moving on. It was like she was navigating by feeling the pulse of the planet itself. At one point, they heard it, a sharp, discordant sound echoing from the passages above them. Not the deep hum of the veil, but a high-pitched whine, mechanical and predatory. The hum of the veil around them seemed to dim in response, like the rock was holding its breath. Rith froze, her internal light flickering. Stalkers, she whispered, her voice tight. They have entered the veil. She grabbed Kaelin's arm, her grip surprisingly strong. We must hurry. The deep song. She pulled him along, her pace quickening. They ran through the glowing tunnels, the mechanical whine of the stalkers echoing closer now, accompanied by the clatter of metallic limbs on rock. Fear, cold and sharp, lanced through Kaelin. He could hear them. They sounded like some kind of automated hunter-killers, efficient and relentless. They reached a narrow passage that sloped steeply downwards. The light was almost non-existent here, the hum barely audible. Rith plunged into it without hesitation. Kaelin followed, stumbling in the near darkness. The passage opened into a vast, echoing chamber. This wasn't like the other caverns. The walls weren't just glowing. They were alive with a blinding, pulsating radiance that shifted and swirled like liquid light. In the center of the chamber stood a single, enormous crystal formation that pulsed with an inner light so intense it felt like staring into a miniature sun. The hum here wasn't just a vibration. It was a deafening chorus of resonant frequencies that vibrated through Croft's body, making his vision blur. He felt a strange sense of awe and terror. This was the heart of the veil. Rith pulled him towards the massive crystal. The core resonance, she stated, her voice barely audible over the roar of the hum. We must merge fully. Let the song consume us. She placed her hands on the surface of the crystal. It was warm, smooth, and pulsed with incredible energy. The light under her skin flared, connecting visually with the light in the crystal. The glowing mark on Kalen's chest burned, hotter than before. Rith grabbed his hands, pulling them towards the crystal. Touch it, Kalen Vance. Let the core accept our joined frequency. It is the only way to hide. He hesitated for only a fraction of a second. The sound of the stalkers was closer now, echoing from the passage they had just descended. He saw the faint mechanical glint of their forms at the edge of the chamber. There was no other way. He placed his hands on the surface of the massive crystal, right next to Rith's. The moment his hands touched the core resonance crystal, an unimaginable surge of energy ripped through him. The light, the hum, the vibrations, it all intensified tenfold, overloading his senses. He felt like he was dissolving, his physical form breaking down into pure energy, merging with Rith, with the crystal, with the very heart of the veil. He cried out, a sound swallowed by the deafening song. He could feel Rith's presence next to him, her energy intertwined with his, the glowing mark on his chest a blazing beacon connecting them. He saw flashes of images again, clearer this time, Rith's past, her exile, the cold mechanical efficiency of the stalkers, the deep complex consciousness of the veil itself. He saw, felt, understood her desire for harmony, her fear of discord, her fierce protectiveness of her claim. He felt her need for him, not just as a shield or a resource, but as the missing frequency that completed her song. The energy peaked, holding them suspended in a blinding, humming void. Then slowly, it began to subside. The light in the chamber dimmed back to merely blinding, the hum lessened to merely deafening. Kalen collapsed to his knees, gasping, trembling, utterly spent. Rith remained standing, still touching the crystal, her internal light pulsing with a calm, steady rhythm. The mark on his chest was no longer burning, but it pulsed with a deep, internal glow, syncing with the light under her skin. The resonance link was stronger now, clearer. He could feel her presence like a physical weight, a constant, subtle connection at the edge of his awareness. He looked up at her. Her expression was serene, exhausted but triumphant. "It is done," she stated, her voice quiet in the aftermath of the sound. "The core has accepted our frequency. We are now indistinguishable from the song. The stalkers cannot find us here." Kalen slowly pushed himself back to his feet, leaning against the cool, pulsing crystal for support. He could still hear the faint sounds of the stalkers moving in the tunnels above, their mechanical whine now distant, confused. They hadn't detected them. The mating ritual, the claiming, the merging with the core resonance, it had worked. It had saved them. "Indistinguishable from the song," he repeated, looking at the glowing mark on his chest, then at Rith. "So, geez, we're just Jod, part of the background noise now, until they give up and leave?" Rith nodded. "Or until the elder resonance acknowledges my claim as valid. The core's acceptance is powerful. It may force their hand." Force their hand? What did that mean? More alien politics? More rituals? He looked at Rith, really looked at her, seeing not just the dominant alien who had claimed him, but the exiled enforcer who had risked everything, even violating her culture's laws by claiming an unsuitable frequency like his for survival. He had thought he was just a resource, a temporary asset, but their mating, their merge with the core felt like something far more profound than simple convenience. He could feel her presence within him now, a constant humming echo of her own frequency bound to his by the mark on his chest. It was terrifying, invasive, and in a strange, fucked-up way, comforting. He wasn't alone anymore. He was claimed. And she was claimed, in turn, by the consequences of binding herself to him. "What happens now?" he asked, the sarcasm gone, replaced by simple weariness and a reluctant acceptance of his new reality. Rith stepped away from the crystal, turning towards the deep, dark passages that led further down, or perhaps to other chambers. "We wait," she said simply. "We are protected by the song, but we must remain aligned. The resonance must not break." She looked at him, her luminous blue eyes holding his gaze. "Our claim is absolute. You are mine, Kalen Vance, by veilfall, by mating, by core resonance, and I am bound to you, By the same law. Her voice was soft, but the weight of her words was immense. He was hers, and she was bound to him. The jaded bounty hunter, the rogue, the survivor claimed by an exiled alien warrior queen in the heart of a glowing planet. The faint sound of the ash stalkers receded further into the distance. Kalen looked at the mark on his chest, felt the subtle hum connecting him to Rith. He was stuck, bound, claimed, but he was alive. And somehow, against all logic, against every survival instinct he possessed, he didn't feel entirely trapped. He felt connected, like a rogue signal that had finally found its frequency. He looked at Reth, standing tall and luminous in the dim light of the deep caverns. "All right, Reth," he said, running a hand over the mark on his chest. "Pair unit it is. So, what does a pair unit do down here besides wait for the space cops to get bored?" A hint of a smile touched Rith's lips, a subtle shift in the lines around her eyes. It transformed her face, making her appear less alien, more approachable for just a second. Then it was gone.
"We."
To strengthen the resonance, she stated, her voice a low purr that vibrated through their link. "Maintain the harmony. The Veil's song requires. Dovir here. What's practice?" "Practice?" Kalen raised an eyebrow. "Practice? What kind of practice are we talking about here, Rith?" She didn't answer immediately. She simply looked at him, her luminous blue eyes filled with a deep, ancient knowing, and the low possessive hum started in her chest again, a resonance that Kalen now felt echoing deep within his own body. The mark on his chest pulsed in response. He had a feeling he knew exactly what kind of practice she meant, and after everything, after the crash, the claiming, the merging, the escape, he wasn't entirely sure he minded anymore. He was claimed, and this was their new reality.